Well, since we're gonna be doing some capturing and grinding, may as well start fast forwarding. And our first capture, a Pokemon that I'm not gonna use much, if at all. Ah well, this early on we can't really be beggars. Never really understood why I don't care for Pidgey when the anime made Pidgeotto such a large part of Ash's team when I watched the series as a kid. Common in Kanto, maybe? I don't think there's a single one in Hoenn, the region for the third generation. Well, I'm gonna be calling you Belaram, an oddly underutilized large eagle from the game Lord of the Rings War in the North. A game that was fine enough if you had two friends to play with, but was far too annoying for me to get through alone. So I'm probably never gonna LP that one. Oh, don't worry, you're gonna be seeing us plenty of times just in this clip alone. After all, we're at the start of our journey, and we need to fill slots on our team right now. Now, the Rattata here is gonna get a lot more screen time than the Pidgey over the course of this playthrough. Nothing amazing about these guys, but they're still pretty solid, especially near the beginning. There's a reason rocket grunts and little boys will swear by these little guys. No. It doesn't bite anything until it learns the move bite. Everyone give a big round of applause for a noble rat of Nim. Now the question is, am I gonna just call every Rattata I ever capture in all my Pokemon LPs Nim? Well, that does it for all the Pokemon we can possibly catch from the route between Pallet and Viridian City. Still not gonna feel all that confident in us moving to any other areas before we've leveled up our two new teammates some more. Right, and of course the first wild one we run into is a level above our two newest recruits. Just my bloody luck. Still, at least Phyllis is a good amount of levels above the others, so he can take on all the wild ones while taking some free hits. Though now I'm very much annoyed that we won't be seeing any experience bars at the bottom of the screen until we get to the second generation. Sure, it doesn't actually make grinding up the levels of various Pokemon in our team go any faster, but still, considering how much grinding there is to be done, I'd like some way to know just how far off any of our team members are from getting to the next level, especially when we're going to be sending these guys to Stadium on occasion, and two of the things we're going to be jumping into have level restrictions. That said, I somehow doubt I'm going to bother with the pure level 100 tournament. It's not like we need to reach the level cap to beat the Elite Four, and I'd say just going through sections of Stadium's Gym Leader Castle is going to be enough of an endgame for this particular multi-game playthrough. But I suppose it's very much premature to talk about the Elite Four when we've only got 3 Pokemon, and the strongest is at level 8. Okay, so a level 2 Rattata can beat a level 2 Pidgey. Interesting to know. Assuming, of course, the rat doesn't do a random tail whip. There goes a little headcanon of Pidgeys feeding on Rattatas in my head. Not that, Pokemon really does much of anything to give you a real sense of any kind of ecology. Probably why a lot of people imagine there are a lot of mundane animals in this world to provide meat for the various creatures to eat. Sorry, Nim, but you're gonna need to do several more level-ups before I'm confident in you taking on trainer Pokemon. Strength comes to the patient, and it's not like we're in an especially big hurry even if I'm fast-forwarding. Kind of wish the debuffs like Growl and Tail Whip felt like they had more of an effect. But then one game that made debuffs very much critical was Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. And I've never been able to beat that game. Hell, I've never been able to beat any of the mainline Shin Megami Tensei games due to how downright difficult each game was. And now they seem to assume you somehow know things ahead of time. As much as people keep saying they want Pokemon mainline games to get more difficult as the generations go forward, I doubt too many people want it to get quite that difficult. Some of those complaints are probably just that they feel the series hasn't really grown in the directions it could have over all these generations. Hell, part of the reason I'm doing Pokemon Red instead of Fire Red. I'm just plain trying to see how some of these generations grew from one to the next to the next. I might do Heart Gold at some point, after I do either, Gold or Platinum. Not Platinum, Crystal. Dear God, why do they have to do so many colors? Again, I'm probably talking about things far too early, considering where we are right now. The first bloody game. I should probably get through what I intend to do for Generation 1 in this long playthrough before thinking of what I'm going to be doing next, and getting myself confused over how many of the damn games are named after colors. Anyway, back to current events. Welcome to level 9, Phyllis. Let's try to get everyone re-recruit to that level before we go to the forest. Sorry for those of you who want to get a move on faster. Especially in the first generation, I always do a lot of grinding. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be a thing in every mainline Pokemon game I decide to do. Kinda funny, really. The only other role-player series I can think of where I do so much explicit grinding is Suikoden, where you have dozens of potential combat-capable characters on your team. But where in Pokemon, every member of your team is to a degree your choice. And you could potentially choose to only use one for the entire game without anyone else ever actually getting involved. In all the Suikoden games, there are moments where your team gets rearranged by the plot, sometimes in ways that if you don't know about the change ahead of time, will outright screw you over. Whereas in Pokemon, sure, you have a limited pool of creatures to choose from at the start, but as far as I remember, you always get your choice who ends up on your team and when. Phyllis has the distinction of being a Pokemon we're never gonna send to the box in this game because he's the team leader. I always like the idea of the starter essentially being a trainer's second-in-command as they gain more and more Pokemon. While Pokemon Yellow made some improvements over Red and Blue overall, it is the only mainline Pokemon game that I know of where the player doesn't get a choice in starter. Sure, that was partly done for the sake of making the game feel closer to the anime, which was still something fresh at the time. But, well, the games aren't supposed to be Ash's journey. They're supposed to be the players. And in each new region are journey starts anew as a fresh character with fresh Pokemon. Sure, that's partly so the writers can get away with us having to do the same major beats over and over again. But to be fair, it would have felt a little absurd to have a level 54 Charizard at the start of Gold, and all 8 badges from the Kanto region as you start off in Johto. Okay, this patch of grass isn't all that far away from the other patch of grass we were patrolling. Still, it's solid ground for us to keep recruiting more Mons for our team early on. One of whom is gonna go all the way to the end with us, just like Phyllis. Specifically, this guy, the Nidoran male. Sure, I could have decided to make the female the permanent member of our team, but I prefer Nidoking's better offense over Nidoqueen's better defense in this kind of game. And then there were 4. Doesn't really matter how powerful your Venom is, buddy. The Poison type doesn't really have a whole lot of hard-hitting attacks, so we're very unlikely to actually use Poison attacks much, if at all, despite having 2 Poison types on our team right now. Anyway, this Nidoran is gonna be named after the character from the anime Inuyasha. He and his sister felt pretty damn underutilized to me, with plenty of storytelling potential. And they were both from a demon-slaying clan. They both had a distinctive kind of mask, and I'm pretty sure at one point, his sister Sango actually used poison against some demons early on, before she was rendered essentially useless as power levels kept rising, and she stayed still. Feels a bit less common than just calling what's essentially these 2 siblings Hansel and Gretel. And I can't help thinking this Nidoran female charged in just for the sake of being close to her brother again. Great. I'm already making myself feel guilty for already deciding that Sango here is going to be in the box relatively quickly, while Kawaku is going to be a mainstay of our team. Still, it would feel a little ridiculous to have 3 poison types in our team, especially since in the first generation, the psychic types were especially powerful compared to every other type in the damn game. The female Nidoran doesn't even seem to have a visible horn until it's Nidoqueen as far as I remember. Though maybe I'm misremembering what Nidorina looks like? Kind of hoping we get a Spearow before the end of the clip. Kinda wish I knew why I like the Spearow-Fearow line more than the Pidgeotto-Pidgeot one. I suppose it doesn't really matter all that much, since, well, they're both bog-standard birds, but still. I'm still gonna go with Pokemon I like, rather than going out of my way for the most powerful. Though, some of the ones I do like are actually powerful. It's interesting to wonder why I choose one over the other. Hell, for this playthrough, I chose the least popular of the starting 3 of the first generation. And, to be honest, I typically pick fire types in every generation, simply because they're good offensively speaking, and it takes so damn long to find fire types if you don't pick the starter that it's more than a little annoying. I don't actually usually give a damn if I like them or not. When playing for myself, it's less about do I like this Pokemon and more about how useful is this thing. Guess I should count myself lucky that some of my other Generation 1 favorites are heavy hitters, so I don't unintentionally handicap myself in major ways. Well, that wild battle certainly felt a good deal closer than it had any right to. You've got a lot of growing to do there, Kohaku, and I kinda hope that part of that growth is going to be in the, ill-defined, non-existent Satanist franchise. Pure luck. Sure, he's already got more luck than Sango and Belaram, since I'm planning on having him as a main member of the team all the way to the end, but still, that many missed strikes against another meter and male who is a level below him? Yikes. Considering the amount of times we're going into this particular Pokemon Center, I'm pretty sure Jack is going to be on a first-name basis with this particular nurse. I just hope her name isn't Joy. That was just such a lazy stroke of genius for the anime. Every town has an Officer Jenny and a Nurse Joy, who each technically look unique, but are through some rather poor justification, each is part of a line of identical-looking cousins. Lets the animators keep making familiar faces, while at the same time letting our heroes do plenty of traveling. It's not like the nurses and police officers had all those, all that much plot point in most of the episodes anyway. Hell, the only Nurse Joy that sticks out in my memory was one who had an absurdly large magic cap, and who was surprisingly buff. Especially surprising, since I don't recall any other women in the series ever looking explicitly that muscular. Again, don't liken Sango's chances against that Rattata. And that was far too close, considering Nim is supposed to be a level above that guy. I know, one level isn't all that much difference, all things considered. Still, I was under the impression that a single level of difference somehow meant more this early on in the game. But that's probably because I never really pay attention to the stats as we level up anyway. And while I've certainly heard the term EV points, I'm not deep enough in the meta of the Pokemon games to know what that really means outside of take down certain Pokemon repeatedly, and one of your stats will have a bit of a bonus. Sure, it's probably more complicated than that, at least these days, but I somehow doubt EV points were much of a thing in the first generation, which is where we are right now. Well, if there's one thing I can say for sure, I generally prefer to see the front sprites to the back ones in this game. Look, I get why we're seeing Nim's head and the tip of his tail, but still, not a great look here. Okay, somehow I recall Spearows being more common in this section of grass in Red version. Sure, the Spearow I'm planning on getting isn't gonna be a mainline end-game fighter, but much like Nim, I'm planning on him being a pretty solid combatant, until we're really starting to fill up with finalized members of the team. Besides, that empty 6th slot almost feels daunting, even if I know we're still pretty early in the game. Wonder what the local Pokemon think of this one trainer just constantly patrolling this section of ground. Are they pissed that we took 2 of their friends and aren't giving any of the others a second glance just because we have already got members of that particular species? Or are they just hungry, can smell whatever packed food Jack has in the bag for later consumption, and are going, I know plenty of my buddies just got taken down with ease, but I'm the one who's going to be lucky enough to fight my way to that meal. And wow. I just sort of one of the many logistical nightmares in Pokemon. Think of the general age of the player characters in the mainline games. Unless they paid explicit attention in a mandatory wilderness survival class or something, I doubt these kids really pack enough to eat for several days of travel between towns. And they also have to feed whatever Pokemon they happen to be bringing with them, which might have different diets than one another. I know why that's not a thing we actually have to care about while playing the games, but still, yikes!